Hi viewers. This video is the continuation of my previous video of scientific ways to improve your memory, in which I have explained the basic principles of memory. In this video let's see the memory techniques that can be used to improve your short-term memory. Before going to this video, I would request you to subscribe 5 Minutes Learning channel on YouTube, and support me to post more such videos. Also by subscribing, you can keep track of my video updates. For your better understanding, I have enabled this video with English subtitles. Now let's move to the topic. The first technique is note-taking. Why do we take notes? Usually, it's to refer back to the information, but have you ever taken notes and never looked back at them? Was this a wasted effort? According to research, no. This effort of taking notes was not a waste of time. Researchers actually find that the very action of taking a note strengthens your memory even if you never bother to look at it again. Now why is that? It's because the action of taking notes is a form of repetition. Let's see how should you take notes, and when should you take notes. Have you ever bought a used college textbook and noticed ridiculous amounts of highlighting? How does this happen? Let's say someone is reading the chapter. They read a sentence and realize, that's really important, so they highlight it. Then they read the next sentence and realize that's also kind of important, so they highlight that as well. Then they read the third sentence, and now they realize this sentence is way more important than the previous two. Maybe they'll use a different color this time around, and you already see where this is going. This is one of the biggest issues when it comes to note-taking. People get caught up in the details. A better way to handle this would be to finish reading the paragraph first, and then decide what you're going to highlight. You don't have to highlight full sentences. You can highlight just a word or a short phrase. Mind mapping is a note-taking technique that helps you visually organize information. If you were taking notes while reading, this might be the title of your chapter with nodes extending out from that central idea. The surrounding boxes would be your headings and subheadings within the chapter, or main points from the material that you were reading. The reason why mind maps are so effective at helping you remember things is because they reflect the way your mind works much better than linear-based notes like outlines. The human mind is wired to remember stories. Authors know that their readers are more likely to remember information if it's presented in a story-like fashion. If you need to remember a specific set of details, you may want to try memorizing it in the form of a story. Try starting off in the classic way of saying, once upon a time, and then add any information you need to remember within that story. Don't forget to make it exaggerated, as we know that exaggeration helps us to remember things, which is explained in my previous video. Stories that are exaggerated, or weird, or just don't make any sense, are easier to remember. Next time you need to remember something, try turning it into a story. Let's discuss a reading strategy that will help you to remember more of what you read. This 3-step strategy is called the multiple reading process. It is a preview, an overview, and a read. The preview is the first step, where you read the introduction and conclusion to your text. The overview is the second step, where you read all the headings. If you don't have headings, read the first sentence of each paragraph. Finally, third and most important step, the read. In other words, let's read the material that we have been getting familiar with. Think about the way most people read. A lot of people simply start from the beginning, and read in a very linear way, all the way to the end. But you don't have to read all information this way. In fact, reading this way is part of the reason why people read slowly. If you don't know what to expect from the material, you are going to have to read it slower. Imagine, on the other hand, if you start by reading the intro and conclusion, and then proceed to read all the headings or first sentences. Then think about the advantage that you have. And there's another important area of reading, which is retention. What you remember is largely due to repetition. Look at all the repetition going on in this process. Those 3 steps are purposely set up to provide you with increased repetition during the reading process. Most people read something from beginning to end, and they wonder why they forget everything the next day. The answer to this is repetition. If you don't preview and overview the material, then you have only had one repetition, and you're likely to forget most of what you read. If you want to enhance your memory further, take notes while you're reading. Note-taking reinforces what you just read, and is another form of repetition which helps to encode memories even more deeply. This 3-step multiple reading process is a simple way to remember more of what you read. Next technique is the memory palace or method of loci. It is a memory technique, developed in ancient Greece over 2,000 years ago. It was used widely by the Greeks, and later the Romans, to memorize lengthy speeches. These strategies are still used today by competitors in memory contests to remember digits, faces, decks of cards, etc. Loci, by the way, is the plural of the Latin word locus, which means place. The strategy is based on the idea that you can best remember places that are familiar to you, like your home or workplace. Here's what you do. Try to picture a place you're very familiar with. Let's start by having you imagine your home. Next, visualize a series of ordered locations within your home. Make these locations in a logical order, so the first place could be your front door, the next location within your home might be the living room, the next could be your kitchen. Picture yourself walking through your home in a particular order. The next thing you need to do is place each item you need to remember at different locations that you have decided on. These could be items on the list, or topics for a presentation you might be doing. Whatever these things are, you need to make sure you visualize them, and add some exaggeration. Here's an example. Let's say I was trying to remember a grocery list, and item number 1 was carrots. For me, when I use my home as a memory palace, the first logical location for me is the mailbox, because it is one of the first things I check before I walk in through the door, so I would imagine a bunch of carrots sticking out of the mailbox. Next, let's say item number 2 on our list was broccoli. The next logical location that happens for me is my 2 dogs greet me at the door as I walk in. I'm going to picture them bringing me large pieces of broccoli in their mouths, and I would continue from there with item number 3, and location number 3. Be sure to exaggerate, and make an effort to actually picture them, to get the full effect. Once you have placed all the items, you need to remember in their appropriate places. Don't forget to recap several times. The great thing about this method is that you can have multiple memory palaces to help you remember various things. One memory palace might be your home, another might be your office, another could be a friend's home. The memory palace technique can be used to remember a list of almost anything, or you might use it to remember the important points of a presentation you have to deliver, or maybe the names of people at an event. You can even use this technique to remember your to-do list. Thank you all for watching this video. If you have not subscribed yet, please support me by subscribing 5 Minutes Learning channel in YouTube. To keep in track of my new video updates,